it was more or less what happened is I was making my schedule for the outline of the important key points I wanted to make, and I just started making it into a handout, and that's kind of how it happened. So it's a 7-page handout that has some screenshots and some kind of key points.
Thanks so much. That's great.
So I don't know if anyone wants to download it and look at it while we're going over this. I just downloaded it, like uploaded it a couple hours ago. That's what I did today.
Busy bee.
It's the kind of thing I make for students too. I mean, this is the kind of thing I usually make for my students, and now I'm doing more video tutorials as well in a similar vein. But I've always, usually, actually for students, I have even more detail, probably more like where to click and key details, because otherwise, well, even with these types of like very detailed tutorials, they still can't figure it out sometimes. So, but
yeah, there's a real sweet spot between how much you tell them. If it's too much, even if it's simple stuff, they'll just kind of go over it and not look at it. So.
Well, I teach a presentation skills course, and as years have gone by, I've given them more and more frameworking for things, and it's in the if you go into the event in Facebook, there's a link to it on the event, Richard. It's like a posted in the actually I can even send the Dropbox link right now. Oh,
I just put
thanks,
it in,
thanks. That's
yeah,
helpful. Thanks.
Chat, so.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is I started giving them, for example, more examples. So when I was having them work on like transition statements, I wrote a kind of sample. This is my topic. This is my sequencing language. And then when it came time to write their actual messages for their presentation, they're like, I don't know what to do. There's not an example. I'm like, oh, no. We're not, you have to think. I can't give you an example for your whole presentation because it depends on your topic and what you want to say. So anyway, how much you spoon feed, it's kind of that balance. How much can you give them so that it makes it easy, but they can still create their own, they're still learning something and they can create their own material, not just an exact copycat of the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, I thought let's go ahead and get started on talking about Teams. Have any of you used Teams? If you want to use the participants, okay, so some of you used it. Has anybody never looked at it at all yet?
This will be my first time using Teams this semester.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah, okay. Well, this past semester was, yay, so the handout. This semester was my first semester using Teams, and I jumped in completely the deep end and just started using it. What happened is at one of the campuses I teach at, they were a little bit kind of wishy-washy at the beginning, and we were told first that, this one's got some static there. Who would that be?
That's me.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say, can you add the chat again, or the handout again to the chat? Because I joined late.
I'll do that stuff. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Just copy and paste. Anyway, what happened at the very beginning, they said, okay, we're on Monday, we're supposed to have classes a week later. Okay, we're gonna go online. Okay, great. Yay. I think we're going online. We'll find out officially tomorrow. I got no email Tuesday. Wednesday, I got a message saying, okay, we're going online for Monday. And okay, that's it. Can I use whatever I want? No, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't get an email. I sent an email saying, okay, are we going online? Can I use what I want to use? Can I use Edmodo and Zoom? They're like, oh no, we have to use Teams and Moodle. And I'm like, oh, this is not so great, right? And so Teams was for the video and then Moodle for like the LMS type stuff. Well, so I busted my butt in 3 days, just spent 3 days, pretty much all day long, learning about everything I could about Teams. We had a meeting Friday and we went through it. And then there's another email. Well, we're not going to start Monday. We're going to start after Golden Week, and we're not using Teams. You have to use Moodle and WebEx. Oh, well, I've used Moodle in the past, and Adam's not here yet to say anything else, but I don't like Moodle very much. Just my personal opinion. The reason I don't like Moodle is that, for me personally, it takes a lot of clicks to do any one thing. From my side and from the student side, it's not in your face enough, right? It's not right there. You have to kind of like find things and hunt for them. So that's why I don't like Moodle, my personal opinion. So I kind of fought against that and I did everything in Teams. But then the WebEx thing for the video conferencing was a real I don't even know how to describe what a nightmare that was. I think I was ready to quit if I was forced to do that for the whole semester. It was
Can
so
I say
awful.
just dinosaur for WebEx?
Well, the guy who created Zoom worked for WebEx for Cisco on WebEx, and he left the company because they refused to update and add features that customers wanted. And he got tired of always telling customers sorry. So he went and created Zoom. So Zoom is my choice for the synchronous well, not face to face, but online classes for doing chat, because at this point, Teams still does not have breakout rooms. There is a way that you can do it. I had to do it for a couple of weeks because the second week I was allowed to use Teams a little bit, and the third week I'd use Teams only. And by the fourth week, I was allowed to use Zoom, so I abandoned the video chat section of Teams. But as an LMS, Teams is my preferred LMS by far over everything else. And if I could use it for my English school, I would, but I cannot, because the only way to do what I want to do is to have a institutional account, which I'm small. It's not possible. So why do I like Teams? There's a couple things. Teams is very visual. Once you set it up once, it's actually quite easy to do things. It doesn't require a lot of clicks. There are a couple things I don't like, but we'll get into that maybe a little bit more. Shall I start showing about creating a team? Let me start sharing my screen. I'm wondering, let's see. Open up my Teams. Oops, let me minimize it partially. And
Now, is this the web page or the standalone app?
oh, I'm going to show the standalone app. I don't recommend doing everything in the web pages for either Teams or OneNote. There's not as much function. I am working from a Mac. There are a few differences in Windows, but they're not huge differences. It's mostly in OneNote. There's one big difference. I thought I couldn't do something and found out later that I could, which was yay. Anyway, you learn as you go along, right? So I'm gonna go. Let me open my. Yeah, so I'm working with the app on a Mac computer. Let me share Teams. Okay. Okay, good. Now let me just move it a little bit and get it all set up here. And I'm not going to completely maximize it, but that's probably good enough. Okay, so basically I have a whole bunch of teams. I'm going to hide my hidden teams for now. I'm actually going to make this, you can make teams so they're visible right in the top, or you can hide them. I'm going to hide mine. I'm going to create a new team. So at the very bottom, you have in this left corner here, there's an option to join or create a team. So basically you click on that and you get the option to create a team. Here's some teams I can join with a code, or they're in the university main setting. Create a team. Now, this is really key right here. When I first went to create my team, I didn't have this option, class option. My account was set incorrectly. I was set as a student, not faculty. But selecting a team type of class is really important in order to be able to do things like create assignments, and to create the class notebook instead of a regular notebook, and to be able to assign grades. I'm going to create a class, and I'll just give it I've got all kinds of test accounts. I'll call this test. I think I'm up to 6 now. We'll call it test 6. And I don't bother putting the description. Now here's something kind of cool. I was playing with it today, or this last week. I haven't really done it yet. Create a team using an existing team as a template. What this does is it pulls in some of the channels and things like that. I can't say that I've played with it enough to fully explain it, so I need to play with it a little bit more to tell exactly what comes over and what doesn't. So I'm going to create a new team for now. So I have my team. Now, here's a really nice thing. You can search for students. In your university, usually have student numbers. And if their account is based on their student number, you can search by their student number, or you can search by their name. So there are a couple people here I can probably search for because they're in my university. But you can find people's names. You can add them automatically. I really like this because this means that when I create my class, I'm going to add all of my students before the semester starts, and I can send them an email before it starts, and kind of a welcome email, and I can send them a quick survey. I'm going to ask them about what equipment they have available at home, and if they have Wi-Fi or not. It's just things like that that can help me understand what their experience is as a user. But I can send this out before the class even starts. You can't add students in bulk, unfortunately. That is a big thing that we talked about. So I'll basically sit and type in what, 100 and something student IDs. Yes, you can. Now somebody's asking, you can create a code that students can use to join the class instead. So yeah, somebody was saying if your students are in Moodle already, you can send a code through Moodle that they could join the class. But for them, I'll be nice and I'll just sit and type. And it doesn't take that long. I mean, I think I added 50 at a batch, and it's just like type in the beginning, that just pops up their name and, you know, add, next one, add. It didn't take me that long. It's, you know, 10 minutes of work maybe. I don't mind doing it. Okay, so I'm going to skip it for now. So I'm not going to have any students in my class. Usually if I'm doing this type of seminar, I like to add you as students, but this is a very closed system. So I can only have people in the system who are part of the university, right? So it's a little bit tight, kind of secure system. So basically my team is now created. Now, a couple of key things is there's something called channels. So right now here, I have my test 6 class, and there's the general channel. Any changes you make to this team will show up in the general channel kind of automatically. Now, channels are kind of like separate group chats in a way. So one thing that I kind of equate this to a little bit is, and a lot of people talk about using Line. I know Joe talks about using Line a lot. Well, there's chat here. So I can send individual chat messages to my students when I get off it, so I'm not seeing people's names. But you can create any kind of channel here, and that channel would be like a group chat, basically. So next to your channel name, there's kind of the 3 dots, right? That's kind of your key place for any kind of overall team management. So you can make the team hidden, manage the team. So there's some different settings you can do. Here's where you can add members again, right? And sorry, I just got distracted for a second. So you can add members here. And there's other things. If I go back to the settings, 3 more settings. So here I can change my theme. So I can change what the picture looks like. Right now it's just this little blue kind of box. I usually use the textbook cover or something kind of related to the class. They have some that are kind of preset that you can choose. So, or you can upload your own as well. I'll just put in the color thing for now, whatever. And that'll just save the changes then. So if I create, here's where I can also, so here I can click Manage Team, Add Channel. You can add members straight there. I'm gonna go ahead and click Add Channel. So how I organized my channels is I organized them by class. So one thing in the channel names, you can't use slashes or like parentheses. So it's a little bit, you can use a hyphen, a dash. So it's a little bit limited, but you can also use kanji. So I also sometimes use like the day and like getsu to make it, trying to make it shorter. But I usually did things like class 1. And then something else I talked about in channels is the private or kind of public. All of mine are public. I tried to play with private channels at the beginning because I thought it would be kind of cool. But there's a problem with a private channel. Well, I'll show you. With a standard channel, make a standard one, automatically show it in their list. And it'll automatically show up in their list. Now, if I add another channel, I'll call this, maybe I just want to say this group 1. And I want to make this a private channel maybe. The thing that's different about a private channel is that just like your team, you have all of your participants. In a private channel, you can add people from your class to this channel. So actually, this would be a really good thing if you're doing group work and you want to have a certain group be able to communicate individually, like in a group of 4, whatever. You could create a channel for that team to communicate. I'm gonna hit skip. And now I have my private channel. You can see it's locked. There are a couple of problems with private channels. One is that you cannot create a meeting. You cannot, well, I can't say create. You can create an immediate meeting for a team that's, a private channel, but you cannot schedule a meeting for a private channel. for the future. And also, I tried something today just to test it out. You cannot send an assignment to a private channel either. So you can't assign to like one private channel. You can only assign it to a main channel or something else. We'll talk about that more with assignments.
Samantha,
Mhm.
one thing I discovered is that the labeling of the channels can be an issue. Like when you create them and what you think is the order, it's going to rearrange them often alphabetically.
Yes, they're alphabetical. So what I had to do at the beginning, yes, they're alphabetical. So I was very careful to put numbers, and actually I'm going to change, if I'm going to change this name, edit, oops. So here you can actually manage channel. You can change the name. I hit the wrong thing. Sorry. Edit this channel. If you have more than 10, you need 0, 1.
What I do, because you never know what's going to happen, is I always start 0, 1 point dash then whatever the name is, because that way everything is always controlled by the number at the beginning of the channel name.
Yes, it's a really good
So
point.
anyways, consistency of labeling will save you a lot of hassle in the end.
Yes, I had problems with that because I was creating this last semester. I was kind of going along, doing it as I went along, right? So I was creating like trying to create a week or two ahead. And when I got to class 10, I was like, oh, well, that didn't work. That put it in front of between 1 and 2 now. Oh, well, shoot. So I went back and renumbered things. But then, of course, if you see here in my general channel, you can see all of those kinds of changes that are made. So it makes like a big long list of blah. And unfortunately, this is one of the things I don't like. You can't delete those little kind of like, what I want to say, like management messages. I wish you could, but you can't. They're there forever. Yeah. So in your particular channel, you can do a lot of stuff. You can send messages. Now, if you just start typing here, it just ends up being like a standard message. But if you click on this little A with the pen next to it, it opens up a whole window, and you can add a subject. So you can give your post a title instead of it just looking like a straight message, which is nice. So if I can show an example maybe. Let me go into one of my hidden teams. If I go into here on Tuesday, for example, so we had a classroom change that we had to do. So I posted classroom change, and it makes it really obvious, right? And then these are the assignments that I posted to the channel so students can see really easily. And something else I discovered that I'm going to talk about really quickly, that's really, really important, is that you cannot reply. So if I create a message, just write test message, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm going to post it. Now, if I reply to this, there's no threaded conversations. So you can reply to it, and it'll just put the replies in order, but you can't reply to a reply, which was a problem for me because I had students, I posted an assignment, I wanted students to reply, I was thinking about keeping it in that container, but then I couldn't reply to them individually. So what I did actually, as at the bottom, I created one and I typed their name and then a new message for each student instead that way. And I told them next time we did a similar thing, I told them to make a new post. Because if they make a new post within that channel, it's still contained. This is probably relevant for when we do discussion assignments where you want students to post something and reply to each other, is that you want each student to create a new post within that channel, not, yes, you can use tags, you can add name to tag somebody. Yeah. So you can also do like @ for example, @ team or @. Now, if you hear something else, let me go back to that other class for a second. If I show what I was just showing. Do you see how that has a red mark there? That means that it shows up in the activity. It means they also got sent a message. So you can generate that. If you post an assignment, it automatically creates that message. But for example, for classroom change, what I did here is I typed @team and I sent it so that here, this is @team. So they all got that message then. So it didn't just post it in the channel where they have to like look and see it. It sent them a message directly.
Say that one more time when you.
So for example, here, if I type a message, and I go, if you go at team, now if I do this, what it's going to do that's different is it's going to send everybody a message
Okay.
instead of just creating a post in the channel.
Okay.
And then if I click, send, see it's red, and I get a message, it'll show up in my activity thing. It should. Maybe it's going to take a second. Oh, maybe not.
Cool tip. Yeah.
Yeah, you get red things about activity.
The students could turn off notifications, correct?
They can.
Okay.
I don't tell them how to do it, so I'm hoping they don't. And I don't
Yeah,
think
but-
they do.
But you might not blame them. I mean, because like I know just between, I had to shut it down for my own account because of all the comments and messages and I was getting from students. My inbox was getting swamped.
Really, I don't get emails. I have mine set off, turned off, so I don't. But I get those activity messages that show up in the corner. That's actually a handout. Actually, I'm going to make a note right now. I'm going to make for them talking about notifications because that's something I haven't talked to them about this last semester. Yeah, because I don't want them to completely turn it off. Because if I send an important message, yeah.
And one thing I just want to mention, you said you talked about scheduling classes, that kind of thing. I think it's important to schedule a class
Yes.
if you want to do it on your iPad, because on the iPad version, you can't start a video meeting.
Yes. Yes. There are some things that are hard. You can, but it's really, really hard.
Man, okay. I tried, like, what?
You have to actually, what you have to do is you have to go into this calendar and create it that way. Yeah. So if you're using the video things, there's some things that are complicated. Like I said, I didn't use the video only because it doesn't have breakout rooms. But that is one of the nice functions. If they have added some features, so it's getting a little bit better. If you do have to use Teams for a video class, what I did the third week when I was able to use Teams, and the second week, but I couldn't use Zoom yet, is see there's a separate, here it's called hidden, I've got one that's called English SAM-A Discussions. I created a separate team that had 17 channels for 17 groups. And then what I did is I created a spreadsheet before the class started, and I told them which group they had to go into. Of course, some of them still ask what group, I don't know where to go in the first week or so, but eventually they caught it.
Yeah, that's how I do it too for my breakout groups with Teams.
Yeah, but the disadvantage of it compared to Zoom is you can't bring them back at a certain, unless they have to come back on their own, right? You can't just like close them out and say come back. One team never came back. They just stayed in their group. They kept, which is good in a way. They kept talking after class finished, but
But Sam, I just want to clarify, you can't do that within your own team. You have to make a special team to do
No,
that?
you can do it within your own teams, but the problem is your channels get really cluttered. So that was the only reason I did it as a separate, was that I wanted to keep my class teams, the class groups. She's going to say, bye-bye, go. I wanted to keep my class a little bit cleaner because I had, there were 15, I was creating 15 channels already for the classes. And so I wanted to have the groups be in a separate place. They could just keep using those same channels every week. So I just made them members of 2 teams. And it's easy to add an entire class to a team. When I created the team, if you do add member, you can search for your previous class. So for example, if I search for I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to show all the student names, but if I search for the class, it'll show up as that class name will pop up, and you can basically add every single student from that class. So it's really easy once you've created one class to add them to a second team. So that was an easy way to get around the not being able to have breakout rooms. And
You had them meet in one team, go to a different team for their discussions, and then come back to the original team?
It doesn't look the same. It looks the same because basically if they have their team open, it's the same thing as going to a different channel. I mean, it would look like my bar looks right now. You would see like this would be the main class, maybe this list of channels down below it for groups. It's not like they're not leaving a team and going into a team so much. They can see all of their teams like in one column down the side. So if I keep scrolling, you can see all of my classes like that.
Sweet. Thanks.
So that's really nice, a nice, easy thing.
Sam, Richard, how did you deal? So at my university, when the students would send a message or comment on a channel, the only thing I would see was their student number.
Oh, now see, for our university,
So I guess
awful.
just a heads up, that means that you need to make sure that you've got a way to be able to easily identify, because even if their names pop up in full kanji, if you're not good with kanji, you don't know who they are.
That's actually a point that I was going to talk about. So I had a crash course in name kanji because different people have talked about different things. Now students can change their names, but it will change it across the system for every single class they have.
I don't know if that's actually true, depending on your university's administration.
No, I think they can, no, because one student changed the name because they deleted the space accidentally. I'm pretty sure they can change their names, but the problem is that they, like I said, they don't know how really. It's kind of complicated. It's not within Teams. You have to do it in like the your university like setting, like for your whole account. So it affects everything from Teams to your email to everything, whatever university has set up that way. It's not an easy thing to do, even if they can.
So I trained all my students that every message, every comment, they had to write their name in English and then an abbreviation for the class code. So it'd be like Yuki AL for academic literacy, or Noriko PS for pilot speaking. That way I would always know who I'm talking to.
Well, once they've done it once in chat, you have their history forever. So it's kind of easy a little bit then. You just have to scroll up and see who it was for the.
If you have a long chat, I mean, if you've got a long chat trying to search, I'm just saying that. If you train them every time they reinitiate contact with you, it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
It does. They don't always remember though.
Well, that's why I like the chat, because they didn't have to send their name every time. I could scroll up and see, because if I typed their name once in English, like, oh hi so and so, you know. Something else that I.
Samantha, just a quick question. So, is the chat like a Facebook chat or a Twitter chat? Is there like an analog? I'm not really picking up at how it works.
Chat would be like an individual chat like you have online, or like Facebook Messenger, or I don't really want to show it too much because I have you see all the student names. I'm posting the video.
No.
But basically, it's just like any kind of Facebook Messenger chat or like a line chat, individual one-on-one chat. It's exactly what it looks like. You get their name and you get all of the history scrolling up, and you can send documents. Something else you can do that's kind of nice. I mean, just like in Facebook Messenger and in line, you can do a video call or a voice call right in the chat with the student. So if they can't figure something out and you want to show them how to do it, you can ask them to do video chat and do a quick screen share and help them through it that way.
So that actually means that students can communicate with each other through Teams and do video and voice calls with each other as well?
I believe so. I'm not gonna go out. Yes, Scott's saying yes. Yep. My students didn't communicate with themselves so much through it, I think, and I'm not 100% sure about that. How much they communicate with each other.
I've only had a couple of students do that, but
can they initiate it on their own, or only if you connect them in a group chat?
Actually, in a group chat, they can go in. For example, they could go into a channel and they could start a group chat, and other students can join it anytime. Yep.
But do you mean a group chat in the chat function, or a group chat as in the channel, sort of posting and replying to each other?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the things I liked about Teams is, like, as opposed to like Edmodo, is that students can do more communication this way with each other, which is something that a lot of them were missing being online last semester.
I think you can turn that part of it off so they can't communicate to each other. Is like a security function. I think I saw that in there, but
yeah, I think maybe that's in the manage team settings.
Yeah.
There are some settings. There's a lot of settings in here. Settings, member permissions.
I think it's in there, yeah.
Yeah. I did give them the option, so they can't create, I gave them options not to create channels, but they can delete their message or edit their message. If they make a mistake. I wonder about turning that off completely, because it could allow, if there's something happens, they could change their message if they've posted something.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't really have any discipline problems. I don't want to assume that I'm going to, so I'm going to assume, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, basically, and not be like, try to shut everything down on their communication, because I think it's kind of important to be able to do that. Guest permission, I think, is kind of irrelevant because we don't have guest permissions allowed in most of our universities. Most universities probably do not. But here's the mention thing, who can use it? So I have students can also do it. Team codes, so you can generate a code for students. This is where you can generate the code for students to join that, I'm sorry, who was it? Was it Amelia posted at the beginning? That students can join with the code. That's where you would create your code, would be right there. And you could have them join that way. But like I said, I chose to have them join I just added them all. Although I have to say, I had one student I had an intensive course this past week, and I couldn't add her because for whatever reason, her name and student number was not showing up in my possibilities. So I just sent her an email directly and gave her the code, and she joined, no problem. And I keep all the fun stuff on too. Although filter out inappropriate content, I kept on strict. So there's a lot of settings. And here,
Yeah, I think at one point, yeah, I was using Teams and I was confused about the chat and the posts. And my husband uses Teams for work, and he was saying that posts are open to everybody, right? So like if a student is having a problem that I can't answer because of my limited Japanese, I told them, well, please say something and please post something.
right.
You know, like to everyone to see if they can help you with this issue or something.
And that would be
like
in the channel, like either in the general channel or in a specific class channel. And then everybody can see it. Yes.
Right, yeah.
So that's a good thing, I think, about it for communication wise.
Sam,
Yeah.
one thing about the channels, can you go back to like the general or class 01? I should go to class 01, sorry. Well, I recently learned as I'm making a new class that if the channel name is too long or longer than usual, at the top of the screen where it says class 01 in bold letters, it says posts, files, notes, etc.
It cuts off.
It'll push those things off screen.
Yep.
And so if you tell the students, oh, go to files or notes, they won't see it. So I glitched on that. So heads up on long channel names are dangerous because it tends to hide the things.
What they get is something here. It's like a more, like, or 3 dots or something, and they have to click on that to see those extra things, which is how it is on like a smartphone, or it's actually it works fairly well on a smartphone or a tablet as well. But it looks.
But the thing is, if you've got channels with different name lengths.
Yes.
And then I forgot to tell the students, and they struggled to find the things at the top of the screen. So just a heads up on new people who are designing channel names.
Yeah, channel names can be a bit tricky. Yeah. So you want to be careful about the order. So putting things like a number at the beginning, like Richard said, because that's what I ended up doing as well. I could probably even take out the word class at the beginning just to make it shorter and just put 1, 2, 3, 4, or 0, 1, 0, 2, right? You make sure you put the 0, otherwise you'll have problems when you hit 10. It'll go 1, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, then 20.
Yeah, for channel names,
2, 3,
what
4,
I've done
5.
is put it in kanji, and also then the class code number, and then abbreviated English name for it, and it seems like they find it faster that way.
Oh, for the class name?
Yeah.
Like I said, I either gave them a code or I added them myself. So it didn't really matter what the class name was, the class name. But I made the class name something like, I always put the year in so that I can keep track, like in the future. So English 2A, I look at my titles. 2A, Successful Presentations, the book I'm using. And then at the end of it, the year. So 2020-04. I didn't put a year after that one. I'll have to go back and change it later. That's okay. I can do that later. It was the first one I've taught this class. So as I keep doing things, I'll keep adding those. Here was an example of me trying to copy a class. So it copied over all of the channels. It did not copy over all of the assignments, I think. That's what I haven't checked yet. But anyway, I haven't fully checked what that did, but I did copy a class this week just to see what would happen.
Did it copy over like the list of students or the members?
You can no when you can actually when you copy a class, you can choose whether or not to copy the students or not, and I chose not to. There's a checkbox for that.
Because I only tried that once. Okay.
Yeah. You don't want to, you don't want to copy your same students, so they'll be like, what? Why am I being added to this new team? So it didn't add any of my assignments. I'd have to recreate all of my assignments from the previous semester still. But anyway, let's go ahead and look a little bit class notebooks, because this is like one of the trickiest things for me, I think, was a little bit at the beginning, and I made some assignments. That was where I had some real issues. I love the class notebook, and my students like it too. They really, this last week, the students really enjoyed being able to just see things and be able to take notes themselves, and they really got into it. It was my first face-to-face class, so this was actually face-to-face plus Teams. You do it in the general channel. At the top, there's a tab called Class Notebook here. Now, you can create class notebooks from within OneNote, but you don't want to do it from within OneNote. Make sure you create your class team from within Teams, because then all of your students will be properly linked, and it'll be linked properly to Teams. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure how it works in the end. I've never tried it. I'm not going to. I just know there are issues about if you create it from within OneNote. So if you go to your class notebook here, and right now there is nothing. So set up a one class notebook. Now, I put this on the handout too. There's 4 types of kind of spaces in the class notebook. Collaboration, you can edit, students can edit, everybody can see it. Content, teacher can edit, students can see. Teacher only you can see it. And then the student notebooks, only that student and you can see and edit. So when you create your class notebook, once you've got your students in, it'll automatically create a class notebook for each student, which is really nice. And then you can push content out to it. So I'm going to click next here. Now, this is something I struggled with a little bit the first class, because I didn't want to screw it up. I did a lot of reading online that you can easily add a section later, but apparently it's not so easy to remove a section. So I didn't use these exact sections. For example, I had textbook homework, because I wanted them to do their textbook homework. They had to turn that in through the class notebook. And I had another one called other homework. For my presentation class, I had a folder, a section called presentations, because anything related to their presentations, they would turn into that section, not in another section, right? So I kind of did it, so I did it that way. Yeah, so general is the main, general is the main general channel. It's not the name of the course. The name of the course is above that. But anyway, so you can change these. You can delete one. So you can have a handout section, which would be for handouts that aren't assignments. Class notes could be for their own personal use. Homework, I might delete quizzes. Add a section, you can name it whatever you want. Presentations, whatever. Then I'm going to go ahead and click create. And just takes a couple minutes to process it. Now, what was I going to say about it?
Samantha, just a quick question. Is this a notebook for the whole class, or would you make a notebook for each major assignment?
This is a notebook for the whole class.
Okay.
It's a class notebook. Now this is a stupid thing, but this really stumped me for a long time, was how to get into the content. I don't know why. I had a really mental block on the class notebook. I had a mental block on OneNote years ago when I looked at it. I just had a mental block on it, and for some reason I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials this semester, and it just like clicked, and I'm like, oh, I love it. Okay, so to see your class notebook, you have to click on the stupid little caret right here. If you don't, you just see the welcome page, right? Look at that. These are the pages that automatically exist. You have a welcome, collaboration space again, which anybody can edit, and content library, and teacher only. Now I have no students in my class right now. If there were students, there would be the student's name, which unfortunately I think, was it Joe, you were saying you only see the student number, or Richard. This right now, what happens is this shows up as their name, whatever it is in the system. So for example, my university, it's their name in kanji. Now I can't change their name in the Teams, but I can change the name on the class notebook. It's kind of cool, actually. I found this out. So I'll show you in a minute. But basically right now, all of these things are open. In the class notebook, there's a couple of settings that you may want to change. So if you want to change certain settings, you can click on this class notebook here. And I think because I'm not fully, 1 second, I need to maximize it maybe. Oh. And now my Zoom is in the way. This is my problem, right? Okay. Oh, wait. So click on the class. See this, there's a second class notebook further down here, right? If I click on that class notebook, I get some class notebook options. And this is where I can change like the main settings. So manage notebooks. This is the only place you can really do it. You can add a section to the students' folders here. Now you can't really delete one. So you want to be careful again to make sure that you add the folders you want and not a whole bunch of others. Teacher only section enabled. I think that's the default. You want to keep that on because you can create pages the students can't see yet in that folder, in that section, and you can distribute them later. The default is unlocked. You can lock it or unlock it. If you lock it, it means that this collaboration space cannot be used and students can't post a lot of stuff. I kind of rather hoped students would use it and send messages to each other, but nobody really used it. So locking it, unlocking it, I didn't find it to be a useful thing. This is the point. I almost really screwed up because I wanted to do, I have a class where students like move things around, and I was thinking of like using the class notebook for this, but there's a big problem. You cannot use it like a Google Doc, for example, where they can work in real time, because the class notebook and Teams is not constantly it's not constantly updating like as you do it. It syncs every so often, right? Mm. So it's not an automatic instantaneous update. So you can't do synchronous work within the class notebook. It's one of the big drawbacks. It's one of the things I really hoped to do with it and I couldn't. But I'm really lucky that I realized it before my class because it would have been really bad. Yeah. So it's not automatically constantly synchronizing. It syncs every so often. There's actually synced here if you want to sync it immediately. You can click on that. So those are your main settings. I don't recommend doing a lot of editing work in Teams for Class Notebook because it's not as it's not as complete. It's not as easy. You can't see, and for some reason, sometimes my controls in a Class Notebook end up in Japanese. I don't know why. Only in the Teams side of things, not in the OneNote side. I've never been able to figure out why. Maybe, actually, I might know. It might be in the student notebook if they're setting this to Japanese. I'm not 100% sure, just a guess. But anyway, you can edit pages from within here, but what I highly recommend is doing most of your OneNote editing and page creation inside OneNote. So I'll talk more about the class notebook in a minute. Or maybe we'll go to that. Actually, yeah, let's go. The next page in my handout was talking about forms and grades. Has anybody used forms before?
Yes.
Okay. It's basically
and
a
Samantha,
lot like,
I'm really sorry to interrupt you. I came in 10 minutes late. Is there a handout that you pushed to the?
I did. It's posted in Facebook, and I think Joe has
okay.
posted the link in the chat. We can repost it one time.
Okay.
I'll repost it. Yep.
The one thing you said that you could do in Teams was change the name of your students, but then you dropped that thread.
Not in Teams, in the class notebook.
So you have to do it in the notebook app.
But it only changes it in the class notebook, not in the whole Teams app.
Okay.
So I'll show you how.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to move over to OneNote now for a minute. I'm sorry, not yet. Sorry, we'll do that in a minute. All right, so I was going to talk about forms and grades because I want to show how to do Stream a little bit. I finally got Stream to work just this week. I've had terrible luck with Stream up until now. So I'm going to show this because when I show assignments, so when you create an assignment, I'm going to go to assignments for a minute. Does anybody want to look at forms? Forms mitai hito. It's quite easy. It's just basically creating like you have to go to your
Samantha, you have to add those apps, don't you? You have to kind of click on them, or
the forms you don't have to add as an app. It's kind of automatically linked in.
Okay.
But you have to go to forms. So for example, let me stop sharing this and let me share my Safari for a minute. Share. Screen share, share Safari. Okay. So basically, most of your university accounts, you have something called SharePoint, right? And it looks like this. You have all of your kind of apps, whatever, and things that you can do. So Forms and Stream are both found here. And basically, Forms, if you open it, you can create two types of forms. You can create a form, which is like a survey with no points associated. There's a big problem though with forms. You cannot attach it as an assignment in Teams. So I did this for my one survey. It was a big mistake. And I was like, oh, because you can create a quiz with no points. The problem is that you have to have a correct or incorrect answer. So that's kind of a bit of a drag. You can just go through and give them like correct, whatever they write, it's okay. So I created this final survey as a form, and then I couldn't properly connect it in Teams. I had some sort of problem, so I had to like make a copy of it, and then I sent them a link. So actually, in a way, it's good because it ended up being completely anonymous. And if you'll notice here, this was a form, so you can see I've got 41 responses. Now, this week 10 like survey quiz, for example, most of my students did it. Between 40 to 50 students did it, but there were 0 responses. Why? Because they did the survey, the quiz itself within Teams. So when you create it, you want to use the quiz if you want to assign it as an assignment in Teams. So for my most recent quiz, actually what I did is I wanted to give them points just for doing it. Oops, hold on. I clicked the wrong thing. So if I open it, I basically made every question worth 0 points and required, they have to fill it in, but 0 points. And then at the very end, I said, click on yes to get 2 points for completing the survey. So they got 2 points for doing it as their final grade. And, you know, that's easy.
That's a good way to do a survey, yeah.
Yeah. Well, my last one was anonymous, and I kind of want to know who's saying what, because I can kind of, I don't think they care if they're anonymous. It's at the end of the semester, and I didn't know throughout the week. Every week, actually, I had a class survey quiz, and I made the survey part, the first 3 questions of every class quiz were basically, if I go to week 11, or always, did you have any technical difficulties with today's class? What was the most interesting thing in today's class? And what questions do you have about today's class? Is there anything you don't understand? And these were 0 point questions. And then after that, they had questions that they had to answer. This one, I didn't assign any points to this one either. But this was actually a content question that I wanted them to show that they had to use their content from the class. This was the quiz question, basically. And again, because they did it in Teams, there are no responses, and there never will be, which is fine, because you can apply it again. You can use the same quiz again in another class, and it doesn't. There's no problems. So that is Forms. It's kind of basic. I mean, there's a lot of things you can't do. One of the things.
But when you do a quiz, an actual quiz, then you can see their answers, right?
Yes, I'll show it in Teams in a minute. I'll show that in Teams. Yeah.
Samantha, if I could, one technical difficulty that I found that I had at the beginning of my semester is I had a quiz that included a file upload as part of the quiz.
Yes.
And what I discovered is that if you need to actually assign that quiz to the course before you add the upload question.
Really?
Otherwise, the files that get uploaded will get uploaded to your general folder in your file sharing instead of into your course folder. Because, you know, in SharePoint, you've got your files. I couldn't find the files that the students are uploading. And I discovered through kind of messing around is that you have to assign it as a draft inside of Teams and then add the upload question later And that way, those files the students upload automatically go into
Okay.
the folder for the course.
I didn't have upload questions within forms, but I had them upload files within assignments and teams. So I did it differently.
Yeah. Yep. I can't remember if it's the same thing with assignments or not, but I remember I had that
Assignments
issue.
are no problem.
It's different animal, yeah.
Yeah. I never had them upload a file within a quiz. So I didn't have that issue. But there is an issue, for example, you cannot, I don't even know why. This irritates the crap out of me still. When I'm just thinking about it right now, it still bugs the crap out of me. So add a question. I'll just add multiple choice, doesn't really matter. Okay, you want to add a file? You can insert an image or a video, but you can't insert audio. Why the fuck not? Excuse my language. That just irritates me to no end. I got around it because I had students having to do TOEIC homework from their textbook. And what I did is I created a page in the notebook where they could listen to the audio there and then do the quiz. It's not elegant, but it, do what you got to do, right?
Samantha, sorry to interject again. I hate that same exact problem. I hate.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would just take a still image of,
that
for
was
example,
just too much work. I know what you're talking about. Take a still image and make a video, but that's yeah, that was just too much work.
And then link it in through Streams, and then that worked fine.
Yeah, but I was having problems with Streams at the beginning of the semester too, and I just figured out how to upload YouTube videos this semester. So I know how to do a lot of stuff with the software for creating like audio to video, but it was just too much work. I just gave up on it.
You can't like add a link, like an audio link.
What I ended up doing, I'll go back. Oops, let me go back to one of my forums. Let me go back to one of my TOEIC quizzes. TOEIC. Here we go. I didn't post it here. I posted it in the assignment section, I think. I did post a link to the audio like I said, I put the audio in the class notebook. They actually all have the audio as MP3s, like on a CD-ROM in their textbook, but I was worried that a lot of students don't have access to a CD-ROM at home. So being able to put that disc in their computer and play it is maybe not possible for some of them. They have laptops. They have newer laptops don't always have CD drives, right? In previous semesters when we were face-to-face on campus, I would say, okay, go to the computer lab or go to the e-clinic or go to the workstation, wherever, and you can use one of the computers there and you can listen to it there. But at home, they might not always have access to a CD player or a drive. So I put the audio in a class notebook and they could go to that page and click on the link and listen to it there and then do the quiz. Yeah, that was how I got around it instead of creating, yeah. And also because the other thing too is if I attach that audio, there's basically there's 3 questions per talk, right? If I attach it to the first one, they can't see all the questions while they're playing the quiz, right? And listening to the audio, they can only see the first question. So because there was one audio track for 3 questions, it was easier to just do it externally in the end. And they had the textbook too. They all have the textbook in front of them as well. So they can, so I guess I could do it the other way by putting the video file, but it seemed like too much work for me a little bit, and it didn't seem like it would make it that much easier for them at the end of the day.
Have you used Google Forms?
I've never used any of the Google documents at all. Nope.
Yeah, I posted earlier about this issue because one university that I work at uses Teams, but I was using Google Forms instead of Microsoft Team Forms, and some student complained because, and actually I didn't think it was an issue because I said you can put in your university email account, but then I found out very late that one student, she had a iPhone, and if you, for some reason, if you have I have one too, so I figured out what the problem was. So when I tried to click on, tried to do the form, it requires you to sign in to Gmail.
Right.
If you're using I don't know why, it's just a weird thing, but
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to change to so I'm wondering, but what I did try to use Microsoft Teams at first, but I just found it not very user-friendly compared to Google Forms.
I think once you get into, there's a few that, I mean, obviously no system is perfect, right? I mean, everything has their problems and their glitches. But what I found for me was this was the easiest, like once I set up is the easiest system, like the least number of clicks once I was in the semester too, to check things and to upload things. Obviously creating the forms in the first place is a bit of a pain in the butt. It's always going to be, right? Creating all this content at the beginning. I think the month of May and June, I was just like dead. I don't know how many hours I worked. I don't even want to think about it, right? Because they're just uploading content, trying to get ahead of the game. Because I like to get things kind of uploaded ahead before the semester starts, so that I can just kind of keep up with checking homework. But this semester was just like, as we're going along, keep trying to create an update, and it was insane. Yeah, it has a bit of a learning curve, but I think Forms is relatively easy to use. So if you're used to Google Forms, this Forms probably isn't a whole lot. So I talked to somebody else who said they've used both, and they said it wasn't that big of a difference.
I used both Google Forms and Microsoft Forms, et cetera, but I regret it because I had to juggle the two different systems. And so keeping track of student work, student grades, there was a lot of manual back and forth that I regret, especially I had large elective classes. I would keep everything. If you're using Teams, keep everything in Teams.
Yes,
don't mess around with outside stuff, because you're creating more clicks for yourself, and it will quickly overwhelm you as the semester goes along.
Yep.
Sam, I got a quick question. Now I'm starting. We've had Teams at the school I work at for the past term, but I'm going to start using it this term.
Yep.
And it looks like you were using OneNote, and you're pretty familiar with all that.
That's what I'm going to get into. Yeah.
And I don't have any. I mean, when you said, "Oh yeah, you should check share," I said, "Oh hell, I can check that." I didn't realize, and it sounds like your background in OneNote helped you a lot with Teams.
I went from zero to everything right from the beginning of the semester. I had no experience. I spent 3 days just like really it's all I did for 3 days, like all day long, except my English school classes, teaching those, and then I spent like the whole semester still learning stuff. And I still learn new things, like that thing about not being able to reply to a reply I didn't realize until this week. And another trick I learned this week, which I'll explain. Yeah, I'm still learning. But there's some basic things I think if you figure out at the beginning, it does make your life a lot easier. So Stream, I don't know if anybody wants to see Stream. I'm not an expert in Stream. I rather hate it. Can I just say I don't like. It's because I hate it and I like it. It's got, the thing that's good about it is the permissions. So this last semester I was using YouTube and posting unlisted videos, but people can't find them. But if a student shares the link with somebody else, they could see it that way. So it's not so secure. So I really wanted to use Stream, but I could not get it to play in Class Note because of permissions issues. And I think I figured out a couple of things this week. So basically, to upload a video, are you all familiar with uploading videos in YouTube? It's basically about the same thing, almost. This top bar here has your kind of key thing. So I'm going to click on, for example, create, and I can upload a video. And I stuck a couple of things on my desktop just to upload. Okay, wait a minute. My Zoom is in the way. Okay, drag or browse. Okay. My problem with my screen in full screen mode is it gets hidden. Let me go to my desktop. And I saved a quick video of pronunciation. Okay. It's going to upload. And it's going to take a while, isn't it? In fact, I'm using my internet a lot, so let's see. It's part of the same thing as YouTube. It takes a few minutes. So, okay, maybe we won't do this. I'll just go with the content video I've already uploaded. It's going to upload your video, and then you can go into your content. You can do all of these things. So I'll go into my content and show a video I already have out there. Okay. my content. Loading videos. Sometimes it's a bit slow. Come on.
So I'm going to guess you can upload a video or an audio file here and then link that to the quizzes maybe? I'm not sure.
Yes. So what I've used this for a lot is I use a lot of videos in my class. Like for example, there's two ways I would use this. For uploading videos of the class after the class for students to watch. And one of my campuses is half on demand and half live class, right? So the videos they have to watch beforehand, you can upload in streams and you can create a class notebook. Yeah, Steve. Oh, it's really not uploading. It's really not loading. Why not?
I think maybe it's not uploading just because you're running Zoom and you might be using HD camera option on Zoom, which could be clogging up your internet tubes.
Let me just hit refresh. Sometimes my computer's getting a bit old. Sometimes it just gets a bit clogged up too. My computer in general. Just hit refresh. I didn't reset my computer before I started this meeting today, which could have been a mistake. I usually, if I'm doing like a big thing, sometimes I restart my computer a little bit more because I find that it does seem to help. I'm really debating. I'm going to get a new computer this month, and I'm debating if I'm going with a desktop or another laptop, and I think I'm going to go desktop. I got to go watch Jose's video about Mac computers from the OTJ summer sessions. And let's stop share for a second.
Samantha, if you want, I have my team. I have Stream up right now. I can share my screen and you can talk through it.
Okay. Yeah, my stream is just being really slow. So if you click on one of your videos, anyone that you don't really care about.
Yep.
And if you click on, I'm trying to see your thing. Where is it? What does it say? It says, let's start down for the edit. Okay, so you got the three little carrots, the three little carrots in the middle of the screen. If you go there, is it update? I think I wrote it. Hold on, what did I write? Click on. Like I said, this is where I'm not so familiar with Stream yet.
What do you want to do here?
Straight into settings. It's going to try to show the settings page like it's in the handout, which looks like.
View settings is right here. If you
okay, view settings. Okay, I click on that. View settings.
Oh, that's.
Oh no, that's not it. No, it's the three dots. It's the three dots. Is edit. Update video details. The third one down. Okay. Now, this is where things are tricky, right? So Steve has his video set so that it's showing he's the owner. And he is the owner, and then his class, whatever group, they're allowed to see it, right? So if you have it to allow everyone in the whole company, then everybody in your whole university can see it. And actually, there are a lot of teachers, like in the medical department here, who have all of their videos out there, so anybody in the whole university could see them. If you do that, you don't really have to worry so much about your permission settings because it's okay. You can change your video name over to the left side, right? And you can change your video language. This is kind of a cool thing. You can change your video language. If you set your video language, default it has no language set. If you change it to English, then there's actually something at the right that's on Steve's screen that shows captions. You can auto-generate captions. So if your students—
This one, I apologize. Intentionally for this video, I did not. I turned it off because I didn't want students to have the captions during the quiz.
Not a problem.
Because this is one of my quiz videos.
Yeah. So it's kind of, if you're like after your class, if you're posting your class video and you want, and students, their listening level is a little bit low, this is actually really useful. And I tested it. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty good actually. I was impressed. It's good enough that I might recommend using it as opposed to like regular YouTube. In the past, if I go back 5 years ago or something, I don't know how many years ago, YouTube captions were absolutely awful. So there you can see the AutoCAD, the generated transcript. So if you turn that on, that's what it does. That's kind of a cool thing.
And I can edit this.
Yeah. So you can edit things out, yeah. So pretty cool function. So again, permissions being set correctly is a really, really, really big thing. If your permissions are not set correctly, your students won't be able to see the video. And because I had problems with this last semester at the beginning of the semester, I went with YouTube. So all of my videos that I used, again, I used YouTube. Okay, so that's the big warning about Stream is be careful about your permissions. Now, I have a feeling that if I upload a lot of stuff to Stream, next semester, I'm going to have to go in and change the permissions for that class, those videos to add my next class. So a bit of a hassle, but I don't know, it's maybe worth it because of the higher security and things being more contained within the university server. Okay. All right, then I will ask Steve to stop sharing. And I'm going to go over to the class notebook. I'm going to show OneNote. Now, if a student is working on a tablet or a smartphone, they need to download both apps, Teams and OneNote. And the thing then that happens is that if they are using Teams and they open a notebook page, it will automatically open their OneNote app. So I'm going to go ahead and open my OneNote app and share it. Okay, oops. Let me have to minimize the part way. Hold on. And back to Zoom. Okay. So here is my OneNote page right now. So here I can see all of my notebooks that I have available to me. So the one I just created for test 6 is not showing up, right? Oh. So if you click on this folder right here at the very top, open, it's going to take you to your sites here. It's going to find, they'll have a list of your notebooks. And why isn't it showing up? This is the only thing, this is the only other tricky thing that I had at the beginning. Test 6, okay, recent, there we go. That's another way to find it.
And basically, you just have one notebook for class.
Yes, I do one notebook per class. Actually, for class notebooks, you can only have one notebook per class. So I'm going to click on open. Okay. That's opening the notebook. Now, so it automatically has all of my content, my things here, the collaboration space. I usually go in and delete these welcome things because I don't want to keep them all up there all the time. But once you've got it open, basically you've got your 4 types. So the collaboration, content, teacher only. And again, I have no students. If I had a student, there would be a different section for every student here. It would have like the student's name, and then I could click on it like this caret to open their pages, and I could see their sections, right? It's really useful. Now, I was talking about you can change the student's name here, right? If you right click on a section, you can click on rename. So you can rename your student's folder here. In order for me not to be completely like losing it, I just added the English to their name. So I kept the kanji and I added the English. The first semester when I did it, the last class I did, the first classes I did, I added the English in front of the name so it would show up more prominently. But actually what happens then is my Teams and class notebook then are sorted in different orders. So for me, if it's a visual thing, going to the students thing fast, so it's up to you. If you put their English name in the front, it'll sort them by their English name. If you put their kanji first, it'll leave them sorted in the order that they are, and you can have the English after the name. So it just depends on what order you want to sort them. I'm debating for my next semester which way is easier for me. I'll probably go with English first because if I have 50 students in a class, having the English first, being able to find their name by their first name is a little bit easier. So you can change their, and again, this doesn't change their name in Teams. It only changes it for the class notebook, but it does make it a little bit more a lot easier to use for you. So you can build content by clicking here, add section, and add pages. So I'm going to go whatever section I'm in. If I'm in the teacher only section and I add a section, it'll add it there. So it just added a new section, and you can name it whatever you want. And these ones, the names are not based on, yeah, you could put a number first to keep the students in the order that you want them to. Yeah, for the names. For the content library, names don't mean anything. You can drag and drop however you want. It's beautiful. I love it. So I could call this, I'll just call this test 1, and it's under my teacher only. Now, I'm going to show you one of my classes at the top. Let me go to this one maybe, or I'll go to this one. I'll go to my copy one. No, I dumped copy over. Where's my copy one? There are no students in it, so that'll be fine. No student data. Okay. So this is kind of nice. Okay, you can't see the students part of it, but there's a whole section here. What I like about Class Notebook is it's very visible, right? The general, I've got my syllabus, useful phrases for the class. We had a blank agenda template, tutorial videos about how to use Teams, which I need to remake because they're probably a lot outdated based on things I've learned. I did 2 videos. I did one on my computer and one on my iPad because I wanted them to be able to see how it's different in both because they're using tablets and computers. A quick Zoom, quick sheet. And then university mail. I enforce, in the past, I've told students they could use any email they wanted, but with the use of Teams and the notification systems, I'm enforcing use of university email. But the university, actually, there's a page, this link, and it has all about how to add the email to your device. So I've posted a couple of them here, and the rest of them, they can go to the website and see how to do it. It's easy. I'd never done it. Actually, I have to say, I had a university email account for probably, I don't know how many years now, and I never opened it once until this semester. So it's not hard. But if they have problems with it, again, I'm always available to help them. Then I have, I don't know what that was for, pages. I just playing around there, I think. But using the that's their automatic help thing, which I would probably just click on it. You can delete a section. Bye-bye. Hi. Gone. Right? Just be careful you don't delete something you want to keep. And here I had my classes organized by class. So my first class, I do brain-friendly classes. And then I have a mind mapping handout. Now I also, this semester, I did something a little bit different. There's 2 ways you can think about it. When I put like I give them homework pages in here. And what I did this time is I also pasted the homework page here in so here, oh, the orders, I can drag it though. Yeah, it automatically put it there, but I can drag it down. Let me just show a couple of examples. This one, they had a homework assignment. Now, I assigned this to them, and they have 3 ways they can turn it into me. When I assign it to them, I'll show you how in a minute, it puts it into their class notebook as an assignment. And they can go in here, and if they have a tablet or a pen, they can actually handwrite. I can't do it on a computer very well, but could we set up, schedule, whatever? Could be set up. I can't type. I can't write very well, right? But they can handwrite easily, right? On a tablet with a pen. A lot of the students have Surfaces because that's what the Sakyo was pushing in the last year or 2. So they have the pen with it. They can write. Another
Samantha,
option.
I apologize to interrupt you here because I had a big issue with this with my students because I made worksheets.
Yep.
And like part of the worksheet would include places where they would type answers, and part of the worksheet would include places where they had to write answers.
Well, I didn't finish explaining yet what I was gonna say about them turning it in.
Oh, then if you know what I'm gonna say, then
maybe. What were you gonna say? Go ahead, I'll let you.
Well, no, what I was gonna say is if the students type an extra line above that image, the word you just wrote, set, isn't locked to that location on that image.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, it's free. You
So
can
then
move
all
things around.
those all get moved around and it gets really awkward.
Well, what I gave them a couple of options. I told them to type, they can handwrite it here, or they can basically create a text, oops, I'm still in draw mode. You have to go back to the top and change your mode back to text mode. Actually, I can erase that first. Text mode. Or they could type their answer out here. So for example, 1, set up. 2, auto automatically fill, right? How about at? I can't make. So they had 2 options depending on what actually they had a third option as well. If they wanted to, they could handwrite it on a piece of paper and turn it in afterwards that way as well. So I gave them, and that's easy to do. They can insert a picture, screen picture from a computer. They can pick one. If they're on a tablet or a device, I did this to return their tests to them. I was in my tablet, and you can insert right from your camera. You can just take a picture, and it'll just you can import it, and that's it. It's really that easy. So some things are a bit easier to do on tablets than they are on computers or smartphones. But yeah, things do get moved around. I've had students have things get moved around a lot. I don't tend to worry about it too much. I just kind of, some of it's a little bit of work for me to figure out in that case, but it's not usually too much. It's not usually too hard. But what I wanted to show as well, if I show maybe this one, actually I know one for sure that's good. Wednesday, this one. In class. So sometimes it takes a second to upload. Because it's not, it's checking files, it saves them on the SharePoint, so it's checking for the files. So sometimes it takes a few seconds to appear. And this one's a bit image heavy and it has a video in the middle. So I'll just scroll down. This is the page I gave them before class. And then here, nice thing is, I'm not going to actually share a video, but I'll just play it for a second, is they can actually watch the video from right within the browser, right within the app. They don't have to, it doesn't open a separate browser. And this is true on a smartphone or on a tablet or computer. So it's kind of a nice thing. This is a YouTube video. I played with streams this week, like I said, and I finally got streams to work, which was really exciting for me. So how to do it. Let me go back to that test class for a minute. Test 6 notebook. I've got my test page. Your page title is whatever you type up here in your actual title page. So I'm going to call this, I'll call this inserting a handout. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can attach a file. If you attach a file, basically all they have is a link to that file. It would basically like a regular file folder. I've never used this. I insert, there is one thing, I'm sorry, there's one thing I was going to say. You can insert, if you use file for PowerPoint, they can actually like do like a PowerPoint play within the one notebook, but I've found it to be a bit glitchy. And so I've avoided using it. For example, I was playing with it even just like earlier today or yesterday to see how it worked, if they've updated it. And playing the video from within the PowerPoint in the class notebook, it kept like closing the video, just like stop. So anyway, printout is my favorite. So what I had to do, if I wanted them to see only like, I took my PowerPoints and I exported them as PDFs. And sometimes I exported them as a PDF. Sometimes I did a printout so I could hide certain slides that I didn't want them to see before the class. But insert printout, basically, if it's for example, a Word file, my desktop. Oh, what did I have? I have a PowerPoint, presentation, visual aids. I'll post this book report. What it does is, if it's already a PDF file, it'll just upload the PDF. As a printout, what it'll do is it'll import like an image of the PDF like it was printed out, and it'll also keep a link to the original PDF. So at that point, you can choose to either delete the PDF link if you don't want them to be able to download it, or you can leave it and then they can print from the PDF. Because one thing about OneNote pages is they don't print well. They end up being really, really difficult to print. So here's my PDF file and it all printed. And you can see my, if I go all the way to the top, come on. It's a big PowerPoint. This is a really big one. It keeps my PDF file here. If it's a Word file, for example, I'll add another page. The advantage to this might be that if you insert a Word file, for example, if I insert the printout again, and I'll do this book report. This is something I made for my English school, not for the university. But they have the image here, and they have the PDF file, so they could download it and print it, or they have the Word file, which they could then open, and then they can edit it, right? So it's up to you what you want them to be able to do with the document, right? And I shouldn't have clicked on that because I just opened up my Word and I lost my OneNote. There we go. Okay. So for a lot of the students, like I said, another way they can turn in assignments, I'll show you in a minute, is they can also attach a Word file. So if they attach a Word file, I give them that option. It doesn't make a lot more work for me. And if it makes it easier for them, then I'm all for it. So that's adding content. Anything else? Again, you can drag things around. So like you can move things. I have one page that's quite elaborate, my textbook pages. You can make things go. You can build out horizontally, or you can build down vertically, right? So I could drag a page, like I could drag this page up. You can just drag things anywhere. The only problem I have with this is you need to plan your page before you start making it. Because if you want to answer something at the top, you have to like highlight everything down below it and drag it down, which can be a bit of a hassle. So that's maybe the main thing for adding content. Distributing. Okay, so if I want to distribute something as a handout. Now the difference is, now this content, something that you can do, if you click on a page, for example, I'll go back to this page. If I right click on this page, I can copy. A student can basically take this page and they can copy it, and then they can put it, for example, into their own folder. Once it's in their own folder, they can now take notes on it and mark it up. So this is a really big thing because you don't want them to be able to change the content page. You don't always have to distribute everything though. If there's something on the content page they want, they can copy it and then they can make notes on it and mark it up for their own study purposes. But if you want them to make sure that they have it in their own folder as a handout, hold on, Zoom is really in the way. There we go. Okay. At the top of your screen, the class notebook, if I'm on the page, if I click on class notebook, there's some really cool things here. One of them is distribute page. So I can click on distribute this page. And I'm not sure about cross notebook distribution. I've never tried this, but I think what I could do, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't played with this yet, is I could have like a core notebook and I can distribute that page to a different class even. But like I said, I haven't played with that. I've just done distribute page so far. And what this does then, yeah, it can't be done, Steve is saying, yep. Is here, it'll basically, I can choose which folder of the student's class notebook I want to send it to. So if it's presentation related, maybe I send it to the presentation folder. And then all I have to do is click distribute. And what it will do then is every student will now have that in that folder of their class notebook. So it's really a beautiful way to send handouts that you want them to take notes on. And something else that came up, I'm not sure if I can show this without being in a class notebook, but if I can't exactly show you how to do it, I can at least explain it. Because this came up once in the semester and I couldn't figure out how to do it. A student had done the assignment and they turned it in, but then they had a mistake. They wanted to go back and change it and correct it. and it was locked. They couldn't edit anything. I think it was for one of the presentation things. The student was changing their topic. And I said, of course you can edit it. Okay, let's see. How do I do it? So you can review student work. If you click on review student work, basically what it will do, I don't think I have any pages to show is a problem. I just posted the presentations. I click next. Because I have no students attached, there are no pages, but basically you can select that page, okay? And then what it will give you is it will give you a list of the student names, and you can click on that student's name to see that page in each student file, so you can make comments on them. And there's a little, there's a lock, unlock, kind of a button you can click. So you can choose to unlock or lock the student's work. So actually, I did something this week for my final presentation and midterm tests and final tests. They had a written test and a spoken test. So for the spoken test, I created a class notebook page, and I created it, and then I attached it as an assignment. So it's got 30 points associated with it. And I assigned it then to each student. So each student has this page in their folder. And then we did their spoken test. In the content section, I'm going to get out of this. In the content section, you can insert different types of files, right? You can insert an audio recording. So I hit audio recording, I recorded them as they spoke, and then I locked the page. I can still edit a locked page, but the student cannot edit a locked page. So that page in their class notebook, they can see it, but they can't edit it. So they can hear their audio recording from the test, but they can't actually change it or try to re-record. And then when I finish grading their paper tests, I will again take a picture and post it. They can see their grade immediately. So that's one thing. And there was something I'm forgetting, a big important thing. Oh, about videos, importing videos, right? So if you're in, there's like 3 versions or 4 versions or more of OneNote, right? There's the Mac version. There is 2016 for Windows, which they recommend not using because that's the old one that they're not updating. And then there's the Windows 10 version. Now in the Windows 10 version, when you look at this insert, there's file, printout, picture, screenshot. On a Mac, there's nothing. So I, at the beginning of the semester, thought, oh crap, this is a pain in the butt. I have to use a Windows computer to add my files, right? Well, actually, I don't. I'm going to go ahead and just grab a YouTube thing really quick. Where is? Uh-oh. Trying to find my window. Hold on. And it doesn't want to let me open it. Let me stop share for a second. And oh, that's why it's hidden. Okay. Too many windows open at the same time. Okay, I'm just going to copy my link really quick. And let me share my OneNote again. Because when I realized that I could do this in Mac, I was so excited. All I have to do is be in a text, type in my URL, hit enter, and look at that. How sweet is that? Now they can play it right within OneNote. And it works the same way for streams. Now, if your stream's permissions are off, what you will see instead of the picture here is you will see a please log in to Microsoft account. And when you click on that sign in, it took me to a blank white screen and I could do nothing. So this week was the first week that I actually got the stream to work. So in Stream, you can get a link. There's a URL when you go in that edit video section that Steve was showing, and you can take that URL and you can copy it into your OneNote, and then it'll just show up. Okay, any questions right now? Okay, then what I'm, excuse me, my voice
Sorry,
is kind of.
I have a question right there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This has really been useful. My students did not know when I was distributing a page. They wanted me to announce it on a channel with the @team sign. But there should be some way to notify students that I've distributed all these pages to them, but they said they didn't know.
Well, there isn't. I don't think there is unless you distribute it as an assignment. But
okay.
So what I told them to do is they needed to look at that page. Like I said, each channel, if I go into one of my class, so each channel was a class, right? So before that class, they just had to go look and there would be things uploaded there, like in class, before class, whatever. So they need to check, and they need to understand it's a weekly thing. And this is actually why I want to get most of my content up before the semester starts as much as I can. I want to be at least a few weeks. I'd be at least half the semester out if I can. I mean, for the content. I'm not sure I'll make it, but if I can get at least a few weeks out, then they can keep working ahead.
Okay, yeah, great. And then I did the same thing with worksheets. And then I don't know if you're going on to this next, but I'd just like to peek how you took in your assignments and you were able to give feedback or edit on the pages.
That's what I was going to talk about next. I was going to go back into Teams.
Okay, thank you.
And, Sam, can I ask one more question before you move on?
Yep.
You said you want to get your materials up before classes start.
Yeah.
I want to too. I'm still not really sure how to divide everything up, because you've got these kind of folders for files and things, and I'm not sure where I'm putting things.
Well, this is
so
what
how are you thinking of this? Yeah.
This is what I struggled with at the beginning of last semester, because you can do things like traditional folders in Teams, or you can use OneNote. And in the end, the first semester I did a lot of kind of crazy. I like a lot of posts in Teams, but actually I've gone more into OneNote. So every class. So actually, this is an intensive course this week. We had 2 classes a day. So this would be the first class, second class, third class. And what I did is I would put the before class study stuff in each section. So this is basically, if you think about your sections, it's kind of like a channel a little bit. You know, you could match them up that way.
And I'm going to take a screenshot of this.
Oh, go ahead.
Won't take anyone's face, but just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing confidential on here, so it's all good. But I set up. So I set up the same thing I do in my channels in Teams. I have a folder for each class. And this has worked really, really well for me, like the whole last semester as well, and in this intensive course, because students know where to look. So you have your section then, and you can then have different pages is what it is. So trying to move my Zoom tools bar is in the way again. Just keeps getting in the way. You can add as many pages as you want. I mean, you can have tons. So I had in class, and this is where I posted my PowerPoint for the class, and I put it down below. Introduce yourself, and another video they can watch. So I just included the link from YouTube, and I didn't put the entire PowerPoint in class because I didn't want them to. I wanted them to think about it, and I know that if they don't, they'll just look at the answers. So I exported my PowerPoint one more time, and I imported those kind of separate pages out to the right. I didn't want them to look at before class. So during class, as they were talking about it, I inserted this file, a different PDF file with these PowerPoint slides. So it's okay, they finished the activity. Okay, here are some of the answers, we're going over. You don't have to take frantic notes. You can, they'd already taken some notes, but here are the answers. So that was kind of an easy thing to do. Another class, I just posted a whole separate file, I think for this one on Thursday. No. There's another class, this one. So I posted in class, the first one I posted has everything is blank, right? All of these blanks. And then I posted another one with the actual answers in it. It's just going to be slow coming up. The actual full answer PowerPoint. So for me, this did require just a little bit of work because I had to take my PowerPoints and create a second version that had the pages hidden, and I blanked out language I didn't want them to see before class. So I didn't want them to see all of this because I wanted them to brainstorm in the class about it. And then that was a kind of a homework. Now this page, this time I did something different. This page I actually distributed as an assignment. So they could either see it here in the class, but they couldn't edit it, or they could actually edit it in their own class page. So I was going to show how I did that in a minute. Any other questions about this part before? Oh, and one other thing. For every class, I always have some kind of skills up sections that I give to students. Let me just hide the classes. So I have a skills up section which has things about how to improve listening and things about memory, brain-friendly classes handout, links to some articles about studying, study habits, pronunciation files with tongue twisters and all kinds of stuff. So I always copy these pages over to every class with students, because a lot of students who really want to study ask me, how can I improve my English? And so this is just a section that I automatically import into every class notebook. And I have it saved, actually. I have a general pages where I've saved it. So I can update this section, and then I wouldn't update, probably not throughout the semester, but at the beginning of the next semester, students would get maybe an updated version if I've added information to it. So, yeah. In the plagiarism section. I love that guy. He's so funny. My plagiarism. So a few PowerPoints. And explanation about bibliographies. Things students don't know how to do. So I post these things pretty much in almost every class, and then students can freely access. And we do it in class, some of it. I give them examples to practice. So you can just copy, you can basically take this and you can copy a section to another notebook. So if I click copy section 2, I can copy it to this test one I just created. I'm going to scroll down. I can copy to the content library, copy. And it'll just copy it across to the new notebook. So that's kind of a nice thing. Now there is one thing I could not do that I was disappointed. I couldn't copy this whole section. I had to copy it one thing at a time, which was a little bit of a pain in the butt. I couldn't copy the section group. There's no option. I can copy a link to it. Oh, I can move it, but I can't copy it, which I really don't know why. There's a request on Microsoft has their user request thing, so it's one of the requests that's out there. I voted for it. That's my general setup. And again, I set things up like class by class because I think that was the easiest way for the students and for me to keep track of what they're doing. And then the student notebooks then have sections which are a little bit different. So let me go back into Teams. Okay, 1 second. Screen share. Teams, okay. So this is a really kind of key thing. So assignments. So I have no assignments right now. So get started. You have the option to create an assignment. When you create an assignment, you can create an assignment from an existing assignment, which I haven't done yet because I haven't repeated the same class yet. I'm not even sure what that gives me, honestly. I've never clicked it until now. So I could, oh, that's really nice, right? You can reuse the same assignment from another class and just change. Perfect.
Yeah, works pretty good.
Yeah. I will be using that a lot this semester, I'm sure, because I've got this presentation class again. So that'll be beautiful. Just click an assignment. Text, well, we'll do a TOEIC one, whatever. Doesn't matter. Oh, that's beautiful. That is so nice. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and click assign for that one, and I'll show you a basic one from the beginning first, because it'll be easier. Okay, create an assignment. You have two options, assignment or quiz. If you create a quiz, basically it will automatically go to your forms. I just got messages that I got an assignment. All of my devices are beeping at me, my notifications. Okay, so here's where whatever quiz, this is where I said in forms, if you create a form, it cannot, you can't use it this way. But if you create it as a quiz, you can. So my final survey, I did this way. And you can, so if it's a quiz, the only thing about this, I need to get this out of the way again, my toolbar. The only problem I have with this whole setup is that however many points you give a question in forms, that's how many points the whole assignment is worth. And you can't override that. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. So you can enter instructions. And I created a 2-point question, so it's worth 2 points. Assign to, this is the class, all students, the due date. This is something important to assign to. If you're at the beginning of the semester and you might be adding a student later, you want to make sure that you edit this so that it will assign it to any students that are late as well. Like I was creating this when my one student wasn't in the system yet because she had to join later. So I would want to make sure that was clicked so she could join. She would get the assignment as well.
Sam, sorry, just a quick question.
Yep.
Is there like you've got a date due, is there an open date? Like when
Here you go.
When the
Assignment will
students can
post
access
immediately.
it?
You can edit it.
Immediately? Oh, you can edit it. Yeah,
It's set for
I
immediately,
always
but you
end
can
up,
schedule to assign in future.
okay. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm debating this semester. I think I'm going to post everything immediately at the beginning because of the way the assignments display. There's two things. If you
Yeah.
post it, well, not for all of them, but for most of them. If you post it in the channel, they can see it in that channel, or it shows up in the assignments tab, but they're all by due date, by newest to oldest.
I mean, this is a problem with Monaba, is that it kind of sends everything to students and they feel overwhelmed. And I would like to have everything. I'd like to have everything open, but I can see them freaking out saying, he just gave me 12 quizzes. Why, and not looking at the due date. And since we're not meeting them, since I'm not meeting them, I can't really say, look, don't worry, I'm just opening everything so you can do it if you have free time. Yeah, but because we don't have that chance to talk to them, I get a lot of panicky.
Yeah, so you can schedule them to open in the future then, so they don't see them all right at the beginning.
Right.
I've been creating as I go, so this hasn't been an issue. But I wanted to give them like the textbook assignments at the beginning. They could post this, they could work ahead if they want to. I don't use the close date because if it's a close date, that means they absolutely cannot turn in the assignment at all after that date. That's like a hard set. So the due date is there, and you can see if a student turns it in late. You can actually have a close date, which will completely close it down. They can't edit it or do anything with the assignment after that it's done. That's up to you. That's a personal choice. So I choose not to use it, but schedule to assign in the future is good. I didn't post everything at the beginning because I made a mistake too, and I'll explain in a second. Let me cancel this. Post, this is kind of a neat thing. The automatic default due date is the following day at midnight, basically. So that's the default. You can change it as you want. And post assignment notifications to this channel. See, at the beginning, I thought that you could only post an assignment in the general channel. I didn't realize until like about 5 or 6 weeks in that I could post the assignment in that channel, so they can basically then see it assigned. They go to that class's channel, they can see all the assignments they have to do after that class. So here we go, edit. And I can post it in class 1 or general, either one. Usually I have my whole semester of classes already created out. Now I can click assign. This would be a quiz. Now, unfortunately, I really want to have a student account where I could log in and play as a student, but I can't. But what you can do is I can actually kind of see what they see at the beginning. But that's all. I can't see their whole process. Problem with a closed system.
Like a student view, and then you have teacher view.
Yeah, but it's not really. Oh, what did I just click on? I clicked the wrong thing. Back. Assignments. Assigned. I just clicked something really weird. I have no idea what I just clicked. Oh, because I assigned it. I was playing in this, wasn't I? Okay. Class 1. So view assignment. Now, there is this thing that says student view, but the problem with this, from my point of view, is you can't click on it and see what the students see after they click on it exactly, right? Now,
Right.
if you assign a quiz here, what happens is all of their answers are saved within Teams, not in Forms, which actually I'm really happy about in a way because it keeps it all contained in one place and you can see all of your answers here. So I'm going to close this for a minute. In a normal setting, I go back one more time, I would have my list of students, right, who have done it, and their names would be listed down the page. And if I click on their name, it'll open a window where I can see their quizzes and their answers, and I can actually edit right there. I can type feedback. I can, if it's a Forms quiz, if it's like a writing question, I can give them credit, full credit or partial credit right there inside Teams. And then it'll put up their point value to the right side of the screen. And you can just click return at the end. It'll return everybody's assignments to them at the same time. Or if you don't have time to finish all of them, you can do half of them and do the other half later. You can return some at the beginning. It's really, really easy to check. You can do it right within Teams. That's one of the best things for me. There's very few clicks you have to do then. You can just pick the first student and click next, and next student point, next student's points, next student's points, and just till you finish all of them, and then you're done. It took me, like, for my quizzes, I had some open questions, and probably still like 50 students. It really didn't take me that long to check. I mean, in another system where I had to do multiple clicks, it would have taken me forever, but I could just like click, 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 done for one student, and it was fast. So that was the easy thing about checking homework that way. And if it's a page, so for example, let me go back and make one more assignment. Create. Because this is where it's kind of cool. If I create an assignment, and I'll call this test assignment, because I didn't do a quiz. This is an assignment, not a quiz, right? So I'm going to call this test on a class notebook. And I can't type either. Okay. You can add categories. I used this really heavily in my one class where I had so they had TOEIC assignments, and they had regular textbook assignments, other homework assignments, and class surveys. You can easily just pop a new category. And then you can see that later in the grades. And I didn't do it properly because I didn't hit enter. I clicked outside of it instead. Enter. Okay, now it has a category. Instructions, I can tell them, please do the assignment in your class notebook. And I would tell them you can write your answers on a tablet, you can type them, and blah, blah, blah. I'll tell them there's 3 ways. This is where I put all my instructions. Now, add resources. This is what's so cool. Here, if you want to give them like a PDF page with an assignment, you can upload a file and they can open that file, but you can send them a class notebook. It's my favorite thing, I swear. This just makes me like so excited. You can choose the page that you want to send to them. So I'll give them the plagiarism page maybe. They have to do it for homework. And I'll give them this handout. They have to do this for homework. Actually, they will have to do this for homework in my classes. And I've chosen the page. So now I'm going to click attach. When I click attach, my Zoom bar's in the way. It's going to take a second. It's going to ask me which folder I want to save it to in their class notebook again, homework. And done. So now, when I create this assignment, it's going to post it to their class notebook. I can assign how many points I want it to have. I'm going to give it 2 points. You can add a rubric. I've never played with the rubrics just because I haven't. I do my own rubric sometimes in the class notebook, but I haven't gotten into rubrics in Teams, so I can't really tell you about it.
Quick question. So say I want students to turn in a Word document essay. Is it possible with this new assignment? I don't see anything where it says file upload or anything like that.
It isn't, but they can do it. I swear, I know they
Okay.
can. I don't. This is where Joe. This is where my problem with not being able to see their screen comes into play.
Exactly. Yes.
Because
yes,
they can.
yes.
Because a lot of them do. I tell them they can upload a Word file, and a lot of them do. And when I give presentations, they upload their PowerPoint file here.
But you don't know where they're uploading it to. That's why
no,
I didn't
but-
use it last
Ah,
term.
No. But what happens is when they upload it, it shows up right in the. If I click on their checking their answers to review the assignment, it's right there.
Uh-huh.
I can see it.
Okay.
It's right there. And I can go in and
Okay.
I can edit it, and if I don't even have to save it, it'll automatically save the edits.
Somebody must.
I wonder what it shows up. Looks like if I show student view on this one. So hold on, test 6. So here they've got their class page. Let me go back for a second. They do post assignment to this channel. Again, all of the same settings, right? So I'm going to click assign. So if I go back into that assignment, test, I call it test class notebook. Instructions, because I tell them too they can upload. I'm 100%. This is where I really want a student account to play with, because it must be like right in your face, because my students have turned in the files even when I don't ask them to sometimes. Oh look, oh wait a minute.
Yeah, I've done it like a low tech way, because if you go to files, you can make a file folder, and I've just labeled it homework.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
they-
saw that option and I didn't want to use it because I've already got
haven't.
them sending it to me by email. And so, yeah, but
Oh.
yeah, it's aggravating. But you've gotten the things back from them, so.
Yeah, and but the thing too, Joe, not a single one of them has asked me how to do it or said they couldn't do it. So without me telling them exactly what the screen looks like. Now I have to tell you that's a first, because every other time I turn something in, actually no, maybe one student did, and they sent it to me in the chat, in the Teams chat instead, so that was okay. But pretty much even the low tech students were able to just upload a file. So I don't know quite what their screen looks like, but it must be very obvious, and I think it must be very obvious and right in your face, because like I said,
Okay.
not one of them has ever not been able to do it, except for, I'll say one. I was thinking one student, but they all did it. And so I'm not quite sure how, because again, this is the problem with the closed system and not having like a dummy student account. I can't see exactly what they see,
Yeah.
but they did it.
Yeah, they can upload anything like pictures and
Yes.
files.
Word
and
files, pictures, PowerPoints. They've done it.
videos. Yeah.
I made a mistake actually, because I didn't realize they could do it that way. And I was checking their OneNote page only, their class notebook page. And I thought one student had not turned it in because there was nothing there. But when I went back to, I attached it. I'm like, how did you attach it? And he's like, in the Teams. And I went and looked at his assignment. I'm like, oh, there's a file attached. Okay, perfect, fine, you're good. So now I know to look there sometimes. I mean, if it's this type of a handout that I've given them and the student looks like they didn't do it. That's my.
It might be somehow if they just kind of send you a message, because they can attach files.
No, it's right in the assignment. Right in the assignment page, they have the option to upload or upload a file.
Okay.
So again, not being able to see their side has been one of the biggest, that was one of the biggest problems for me throughout with using this at the beginning. But like I said, because they were able to do it so easily and there weren't any problems, I'm not really so worried that that's an issue. That particular part of it anyway.
That's good to know, yeah.
I mean, because I had them uploading Word files, and then again, like so for presentations, they all had to upload PowerPoints. 50 students, and I think only 1 or 2 were like, I can't do it. And I'm like, just send it through chat. And they did.
Yep.
So
Yeah, one time a student, I had given like a PDF for students that they could either print out or just kind of make a draw
Yeah.
Like it was just a organizational kind of
Yep.
kind of brainstorming thing.
I do mind maps a lot for
And
that.
one student used a computer to do it. And
Yep.
but when he submitted it, I couldn't see what was written. So I contacted him and he sent me this like screen what Cast-O-Matic or something. It's showing me how you can open it to look at it.
Oh, wow.
And so
I would have said, sorry, you need to take a screenshot and send it to me. No,
but it was something I'd never seen before. And if he
No.
hadn't shown it to me, I wouldn't have known it.
I've had students doing mind maps, and I told them they could use online software years ago, and a couple of them would send me like links to these crazy, like this is in Edmodo, so I was like even harder, like sometimes to upload things. So this is actually, for me, the thing I like about Teams over Edmodo is that it's much easier for students to submit assignments, and there's no ambiguity about where how to do it, and they can do, there's multiple ways that they can do it that's still just as easy for me, right? So if they're not high tech, it's not like you have to do it only this way, or you have to do it only this way, but it's still within the assignment itself, right? So like they can either upload a file. What do I want to say? In Edmodo, okay, for example, just as a quick comparison, if students have to write a report, I ask them to do it in Word. Some send it as a text file, which means that how I can edit it is different. It's more complicated. And sometimes I want them to send it as a text file, but they send it as a Word file, in which case we have to open the Word file. And there's just lots of clicks involved. Whereas here, there's very few clicks. If they attend a Word file as an attachment, I can open it, type in it, close it, give them their grade, and it's done. I only have to click open, close, and then type in their grade. That's it. It's 3 clicks, basically. Return. So for me, that's a really, really big thing when I'm trying to grade assignments, is the number of clicks and how easy it is just to see what they've turned in. It's so... Oh, but wait a minute. I do have to tell you about one really tricky thing, okay? Because I couldn't figure out what happened. I figured out this week because we had face-to-face classes. In the class notebooks, one of the students had a tablet and she was writing, but I couldn't figure out why. Her ink was white. I'm like, why is she writing in white ink? I can't see this. And so I would like change her ink color afterwards, or I did something. I can't remember how I saw it. But after that, I knew what it was, but I realized what it is because one of the girls in my face-to-face class this week had her tablet and she was using dark mode. Actually, this is a problem with actually Microsoft. I'm going to make a note right now to myself to send them a complaint about it. Because if a student writes in dark mode, their default ink is white. But if you're in a white, so if I turned my screen to dark screen, I could see her ink. But it was really weird because even so, if my screen was dark screen, the page was still white, but her ink would show up black all of a sudden. It was really, really weird. But
okay, that answers my question.
Red.
I had a student, hand in some stuff like that too, and it's like, what?
yes.
Okay, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, red or blue, or have them use a different color. I think just make a note to them about dark mode. If you're using dark mode, please change your ink color to light blue or something. It'll show up, right? But it'll show up on both screens because it was just really crazy. But she was using, I figured out what it is, and I'm like, oh, you're in. So for some reason, it doesn't change the ink default in my screen back to black like it should. So it's a problem with their dark mode, light mode change settings, right? It's so. But I found that out this week. So if you ever have that, that's what it is. It's the student is using dark mode and they're writing in white ink on their screen, and it's not changing it back to black if you're using a light mode like it should. That was a big learning experience this week. Let's see. Is there any other really important points that I've missed? Questions?
Hi, yes, I'm Eleanor. This is very informative. Thank you very much for giving up your time to do this. I have a general question. My university has put out an email saying that in terms of the content that we put on Teams, we can only put 1 week's worth of content at a time so that we don't overwhelm students.
Like Joseph was talking about.
So on Moodle, you can hide the weekly content and just release it 1 week at a time. Can you do anything like that on Teams?
You can hide a channel. Oh, you can hide a channel.
You just showed how to send the assignments out later. I
Yes.
guess the other materials, you can't do
So,
that.
yeah, so you can hide the assignments. You can hide a channel. So if I go back to this channel, I just hit it. If you right click on it, how do I unhide the show? So you could create all of your channels for the whole semester. And you can basically, if you don't want them to see all of them, you can just hide them. If you right click on it, on those three dots, more options, there's a hide. And in this case, it's not going to show up in your students' channel list for that class. And you can choose to post the assignment later. And a class notebook as well. You can create your whole class notebook in your teachers only section and then drop it section by section over to their folder. It just takes just grabbing it and dropping it, that's all.
Sorry, I'm writing it down.
No, not at all, not at all.
Thank you very much.
Question, yeah, so when you like hide a team, I haven't done it yet. So if you hide a team, I can still see it, but nobody else can, is that right?
Yeah, the channel, yeah.
Okay, or channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can make a channel for each week, like week 1, week 2, week 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, class 1, yeah. So you can show and hide, Am I still sharing my screen? Did my screen just?
It's still there.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. So I was just showing the hiding. If you click on it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sam. This is great.
Yes, thank you very much.
Not at all. Any
Next
other?
thing I want to know is how to link Teams and Zoom.
Oh, so you can't really do that, unfortunately. Oh, I was going to talk about other apps, right? I forgot about that. You can, for example, Flipgrid. I use Flipgrid. So I can add a tab. I was just going to be slow again. So Flipgrid is one of the possibilities. Where is it? Why is it not showing up?
Maybe because
there it is. I just typed too far, something. So I can add this. Oh, except I think I need to create my, okay, post the channel about this tab. I don't need to post the channel about it. And I think I was supposed to create the class. I think I need to create the Flipgrid first. Anyway, yeah. If you create the Flipgrid first, then you can link your Flipgrid to the class.
Okay.
And they can see it right in it. I'll create an account here. Enter a join Flipgrid code, right? So if you've already created your Flipgrid, you can enter the join code.
The same thing with like a Zoom.
Then it'll show up on their general tab. And when you create an assignment in Flipgrid, you can assign it to Teams. So then that will also show up inside their Teams assignment. So that's really, really useful.
I'm sorry, what was the thing about Zoom?
You can't add Zoom. There's no Zoom extra add-in. So
you can add the URL though, right?
Yeah,
Like
what I did is I just created a post for every class. Like I can show you.
But down at the bottom, you can add a Zoom icon.
This class isn't a good example. I'm going to remove my.
At least I think you used to.
If I open this one up. So what I did is every week, my last semester was completely insane, and I was supposed to use Moodle, and because I didn't post assignments in the channels, I created a post like this in every single class. So what they had to do for homework, and this is a link to the class notebook page, which I probably won't do because I'll just put it in as an assignment. It'll be easier. And a link to the page for in class, to the class notebook. I'm probably not going to do this because I've got the students, I've figured out how to explain things better to the students. At the beginning of the semester, this class was a disaster because this is the class they made me use WebEx. Then they said then they said I couldn't use Zoom yet, but I could use Teams instead of WebEx. And I had to post everything in Moodle, so I posted this kind of post. I just copied it over to Moodle at the same time as well. But I just created a post with my the group discussion time in Zoom here, and I put the meeting link and the ID and password. It would be nice to be able to use the calendar to create that kind of link. Now, you can do that supposedly with WebEx. I never got it to work, but WebEx, you know, I run if you have to, if you have the choice. Yeah, so this is a post that I created pretty much every week. I would just copy and I would copy from the last one and update the information and give them the next one.
Yeah, some students, I don't know, in one of my classes, they were always like, at the beginning, we had a different Zoom contract. Anyway, so I had to make a different link after that. Yep. And then after that, he lost it or something, but he was always late. He was like, I can find the link. I'm like,
yeah, so
would you please bookmark it? But I think, yeah, at the top you can add,
well, like I said,
website, right?
Every week, I just created a new, I didn't use recurring meetings. I probably should, it might be easier, but I thought for a security perspective, I just created a new ID and password for every single meeting. And so I just posted it here every week in this channel. And then I posted it in the Moodle as well. I just, this was a constant message that I posted every week. I just copy and paste.
Sam, this is a channel for each week?
Yep.
You did just a channel for each week and you found that worked well?
Yeah, I found it worked well. And like I said, I didn't realize at the beginning of the semester that I could actually post the assignments to the channel, which would have been better because then I wouldn't have to post like the homework later. I sometimes posted homework, not every week. At the end, I didn't do it as much, but at the beginning, it's kind of a disaster. Maybe week 3 is probably where it started getting. Like I would
Sorry, can you hold that? Let me just take it.
Oh, sorry, you want me to hold that part there?
No, that was fine. That was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the semester, I was also creating a homework post, but now that I know that I can put the assignments and post them directly in, because what I had is my general looks like this. My general tab looks like this. Every single assignment is in here because I didn't realize that I could post them to different weeks and different channels. So knowing that now is actually much better because I can post that homework right in the channel. So they can go to that channel. I can post my update with the Zoom contact information. They can see the assignments right there in that assignments folder. But another thing, the assignments tab is actually really good. When you look at the assignments tab, because it's graded, generally what it looks like is you have the list of the assignment and it has the due date right under it. And it sorts them with the newest, the ones that are due earliest at the top. So they can just, they can see right in order what's due in order. Or they can see it again in that channel if you post it in the channel, which is what I did this week because I learned my learning experience from that. So I posted their assignments here in the channels instead of in the general channel. But that makes it easy for them. They can see what they have to do for every class. And like I said, I created the midterm test as an assignment just so I could easily get it into the into the grade book, so I didn't have to deal with it otherwise. Grades, like I said, the one problem with the Teams grade book is you can't weight assignments. That's really truly the biggest, I think one of the biggest weaknesses to the grading. But other than that, what I did for my one class, I had all kinds of assignments with different points and things, is I just exported to Excel and calculated it. It was a bit of a pain in the butt, but it just still wasn't that big a deal. So that's where like the categories can be a little useful because it just dumps everything. It's like, wow. It's a little bit hard to see. I had to figure out, like, it would post the total possible score for the assignment and the points the student got. And it was just like, it was a big kind of, it's a bit hard to see sometimes. So I just had to delete columns and like resort things by those categories. But at the end, it wasn't a huge crisis. And for this class there's actually less assignments. So it's actually easier because it's not as many students either. I think the real problem is if you use a lot of quizzes that have point values that you can't change, which is what I had in my main semester class. So if you can consistently assign your points, then it's actually much easier. Which makes me think that I might do things a little bit differently for my quizzes this semester about how I assign points in quizzes. I don't know, I'll have to think about it. That's complicated because I would like to be able to not have to do all that at the end of the semester, but oh well. Other questions?
Samantha, hi, this is Samantha. I may have missed it. Well, I'm going to be using Teams for the first time this semester. I did my very best today to hang on to every word, but I must say that quite a bit flew over my head. And I'm not sure if I missed it, but is there an option for like a live video?
You can do meetings, for example, like, okay, in the calendar or in a channel. It's really easy. All you have to do in a channel. Now, from an iPad, was pointed out, it's really a little bit more complicated because you can't just automatically start a discussion. I don't want to do this in this class, sorry. That's my actual class, and the students will be like, what the hell? If they see it. Let me go back to my test channel. Oh. And one hidden channel, right? The students can't see, so I can show that. We'll use that channel. I'll unhide it. Show. Now, what you can do, this is what I did the second week of classes, is I had into the class channel, I told them to go to the channel, and you can just start a video. Wait. Hold on, where is it? You could start a video. Why is that option not there? Giphy, sticker. Was that one of the lovely things they did with their latest update? It used to be that you could just start a video right within the channel.
It says meet at the top.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Sorry. Yep, I'm not. It used to be there was an icon underneath it. Yep, meet. That's it. I just opened up a video. It just starts opening up a video thing right there. And you can change it whatever name you want. You can record it and do all of that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Let me find my screen. My screen is hidden partially behind the Zoom thing, which makes it a little bit. Now, how do I cancel it? Join once and get out of it. Let's see. Hold on a sec. Just kill my Teams for a second. Oh, there we go. You can invite people to join you. Now, you can also, let me leave that. Okay. Let me get back into it. Let me share it one more time. Now, you can also, something else that you can do is that you can go into the calendar here and you can create a schedule. You can schedule a meeting. You can click new meeting up at the top right and you can give it a title. So class 2. Required attendees you can skip. You can set the date and time. You can make it a repeating meeting or not. You can add, this is where it's really useful, you can add a channel. So you can add your class, where's my test? Test 6, for example, class 1. And I can type in any details I want, and then I can just click send. Now, if I go to that, I can see it on my calendar right there. And if I go back to that channel, you can see there's a scheduled meeting right there on what time and the date and time. That's really, really a useful feature, which is why if Teams had breakout rooms, I would absolutely be all over it as a video conferencing software.
So the students would just click on class 2.
They just have to click on it and they just have to join, that's it. Yep.
Do you keep attendance using Teams? Or video?
I do. Well, I use Zoom for my video. I don't use Teams for video. But actually, Teams video is kind of cool because you get a participants list and it shows, if it's assigned to your class channel, it shows all of the people who are there and the people who aren't there as well from the class. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Okay, great.
You can just take a screenshot of that. Even in Zoom, I do Zoom attendance 2 different ways. Sometimes I take a screenshot. sometimes I check them while they're in the breakout rooms really quickly. A lot of times I check them on the list when I'm admitting them to the room from their waiting room in Zoom. So it just kind of depends how I do attendance. But yeah, in Teams you get a really complete participant list too, which is useful.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions anybody has? Trying to think if there's anything I've forgotten, anything important, because I'm sure there is. But those were, I think, the main kind of dangerous things that to avoid. I think I've gotten all of them. Yeah, but it's a really, I really liked it as a system. This is my LMS for the future for sure. And like I said, I really wish that I could use it with my English school as well. Because of the class notebook, I would like to be able to assign things to students and have them be able to access those pages freely whenever they want. I'm still looking for what's perfect for that. Any other questions?
Why can't you use it with your English school?
Because you have to have a big account. Yes, you need to have like that. What is it? You have to have the university, like the licensing. You have to have like 1,000 students or something, or 500 students or something, and yeah.
So you can't license it for your little school.
Nah.
Okay.
Not as the class. I could have students use it, but I couldn't get like a class type of team and a class type of notebook. And it's that class notebook that I like, 'cause the sharing, the ability to like, distribute to each student individually, and they can edit their own and not everybody see everybody else's work. That's what I really like about it.
It's too bad they don't have a, small users account.
Yeah, I think the reason, I was wondering why they don't, and I think the reason might have to do with the fact that to use it, you have to actually set up a proper SharePoint, like it's an account, it's set up through a Microsoft server.
I see.
Because all of this data is being saved on that SharePoint. Remember when I was showing about how to add your class to the class notebook?
Yeah.
It's all being saved on a server. So they have to set that up. And I think that's why they don't make it available.
And that's what you're paying for, is the server space.
Yeah. I did read somewhere that there is a way that you can set it up. Yeah, I've read there may be some really complicated things you can do to get around it, but yeah.
Well, thank you. This has been very interesting. My school uses Google Classroom, but there's some crossover things that would be useful both ways to make me look at Google Classroom differently. So thank you.
Not at all. Thank you everybody for coming. We had quite a few people earlier who have left.
Yeah.
But
okay, well, I'm going to go soon. So
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anything else, or shall I call it a night?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad everybody came. I'm going to